College. We've got Heather and Paul up early this morning, and I mean early. Heather Dinich at Big Ten Media Days, where it is 5:36 a.m. in Las Vegas. She just rolled in from playing the slots. And Paul Finebaum is up with us as well. Let's play a game called One Big Concern. Mr. Finebaum, we start with Notre Dame. What is your one big concern with the Fighting Irish?
It's about the offensive line. Last year, they had one of the best in the country, but it kept getting banged up. And even though my friend Greg McElroy said the other day he thinks the Irish have the best offensive line in the country, I need to wait and see on that Sunday night game against Miami, because there's too many defections, too many injuries for me to be convinced that this team will be as good as last year.
Heather, the world loves Texas this year. What's your number one concern with the Longhorns?
It's the fourth toughest schedule in the country. Look, I don't care who you are. This is a gauntlet. You're talking about at Ohio State, at Florida. They've got to play their rival Sooners. They've got Georgia. They've got Texas A&M. This is a very talented team, but it's going to be hard to win the SEC, let alone the national title.
And they will open, as you mentioned, in a huge game at Ohio State. Paul, what's your big concern with the defending national champs?
Let's start with losing both coordinators, one to Penn State, the other Chip Kelly obviously out. What about not knowing who the quarterback is in late July, and of course facing Texas and having to deal with Michigan again? You may have heard they haven't beaten Michigan since Greeny was a young man. Let's pause the hype on Ohio State. I'm not sold. Ryan Day is a good coach. I don't think he's elite as some people want to make him out to be. Ohio State will not repeat.
Well, Ryan Day is there at Big Ten Media Days with Heather and everybody in Vegas, and he says the Buckeyes are ready to start this season with a completely clean slate.
The team that we have currently, wants to leave their own legacy behind. But we're not defending national champions because we're not defending anything. They can't take the trophy away. We're looking to attack and win a championship with this team.
All right, so they're looking to start with a clean slate, which is what I meant to say, not a clean state. They're staying in the same state as Ohio, as they were a year ago. But Heather, is this team going to be, Paul just sort of pointed out a couple of causes for concern. Is it going to be repeat or retreat for the Buckeyes in 2025?
I'm going with retreat, and that's not a knock on them. This is a very talented team, but as we sit here today, Greeny, we know more about Penn State. Penn State has more answers. They have Ohio State's old defensive coordinator in Jim Knowles. They've got two of the best running backs in the country. They've got Drew Aller, who's going to increase his NFL draft stock, and he is going to push the ball downfield more this season. He's got some better receivers. I think that this is the year James Franklin can take Penn State from good to great. I think they win the Big Ten.
You may recall Penn State beat Ohio State some years ago, and Ohio State still wound up being the team that got into the playoff ahead of them. That was back in the days of the 14 playoff. The one thing we know for sure, Paul, is that Ohio State has Jeremiah Smith. Is he the best player in college football?
That he is. He's so good, Greeny, doing the draft, where he would have gone last year. It's incredible that he has to stay in college with all the convoluted rules. But the biggest issue they had last year with Chip Kelly calling the plays was getting him the ball enough. Remember in the Michigan game, he didn't get the ball enough in the Texas game. I think that will change this year, but he is without a doubt the best player in the game.
All right, and so we made our picks for this thing. Obviously, it's way premature. We still have a month or so to go before the game is played, but Ohio State's a 2.5-point favorite against Texas, and you can see where we all line up there. I reserve the right to change my mind multiple times between now and the time that game is played. I really want to get you guys' take on something else that was said yesterday. The head coach of SMU is Rhett Lashley. They had a great year last year, made it to the playoff and everything else. Yesterday, he had some fascinating thoughts about the depth of his conference, the ACC, compared to the SEC. Give a listen.
I mean, you look at our league, we had like 4 10-win teams, 2 playoff teams, a handful of 9-win teams, 13 bowl teams. I mean, there's just not a lot of easy wins on the schedule. And there's other leagues that claim depth, but like the SEC's had the same 6 schools win the championship since 1964. Same 6. Not a single one has been different since 1964. It's top heavy to me. That's not depth.
I hope that the audio was clear enough for you to understand at home exactly what he was saying. To me, Paul, That was sort of like taking out a white glove and slapping you across the face and challenging you to a duel. What is your reaction to the coach?
Duel accepted, Mr. Lashley. First of all, I think Alabama's won about 11 national championships in that period that he laid out. But that's not even the main point. If I understand correctly, he's the head coach at SMU, Greeny. I bet you know where I'm going here. Yeah. 1987, you know what happened at SMU? They shut the program down. While he's making fun of the SEC for winning national championships all over the place, SMU's the most corrupt program in the history of college football. And Rhett Lashley has the nerve to get up there and throw stones. By the way, he played at Arkansas. That should have nothing to do with it. That's one of the most comical, embarrassing rants I have ever heard, and I'm glad the audio wasn't clear because I would have come right through that screen.
Paul is not letting us down. As Heather, here's what I will say. Look, forgetting whether he's right or he's wrong or he's this or he's that, there is sort of a reshaping in this new era with transfer portals and NIL and everything else. There is a reshaping of the power structure in the sport, right? There was the traditional way that it was. You had your teams that were always going to be good, and that was it. That does feel as though it is in a state of flux.
Well, look, here's the thing. As everyone is arguing over how many teams should be in the playoff in 2026 and beyond and how to determine the national champion, I'm talking to coaches the last 2 weeks at these media days, asking them how many teams can contend for the national title. The answer, 5, 6, 8. So we can talk about depth in leagues all we want, but the reality is the teams with the depth to last through January 20th are the only ones that are going to win the national title. You know how they get that depth? Money. Vegas, baby.
All right, I'm going to leave it there for the moment.